Hello and welcome to Redshirt Cinema Club, a weekly podcast about watching movies with friends. The movie-going world waited nearly 2 decades for Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but we've only had to wait 1 week. Indy is older, wiser, and punching Russians instead of Nazis. But can he still conjure up the same old magic? Let's find out. Hello and welcome to Redshirt Cinema Club. Today I am your host, triumphantly returning, aging hero Nathan Dighton, and I'm joined by wittering lunatic Robert Pearson.
Which one's that? John Hurt. Yeah, I'm John Hurt. That's good.
And globally unpopular CG gopher, David Jackson.
God's sake.
That's right, this week we've watched Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, a 19-year jump from The Last Crusade to join a mid-60s Harrison Ford once again, adventuring on the edges of imagination, and this time perhaps over the side. The energy in the room is flat. I want to ask very quickly about what your previous impressions of this film were. Robert Pearson.
I watched it at the cinema when it came out, having not been a massive Indiana Jones fan.
No way.
And thought very little of it. I just went out the cinema thinking, that was another Indiana Jones film. He's quite old this time, isn't he? It was a bit silly when they swung on the vines.
Do you know, it's funny, because I also thought he was very old the first time. And now I watch it and I go, I could have made a couple more movies. If they
He's doing loads of stuff in this one.
He is, yeah. Yeah. What about you, Dave? Did you?
I also saw it at the cinema. I was at university. I remember it very well. I was very excited about it and I hated it. And I thought to myself near the end, if there's a flying saucer, I'm going to walk out. And there was a flying saucer, but I didn't walk out.
It was so close to the end.
Yeah.
There's no point walking out at that point. I think I had a similar impression. I was already kind of doing the job which we are now doing at this point. So this is just a couple of years. Is this the film which has come out? Is this the most recent film we've watched? Is I guess what I'm saying. I don't think it is.
I don't think it is, but
we've watched the Star Trek
we've watched a lot of films now. But yeah,
we have. Yeah.
Well, when it must have been. What was it? 2008.
Yes, it was 2008.
Yeah, I was at uni. I remember. As I said, watching it.
We watched the Romulus, didn't we? The Romulus.
The Romulus.
That was 2024.
Alien,
the
Romulus,
most recent film we've watched.
I thought you were talking about Star Trek. I was very impressed. It's like the Romulans.
I'm quite surprised that this film is as old as it is, which is a stupid thing to say because time.
Impressed that it's
no, like I was surprised.
Yeah.
It's nearly as old now as the original Indiana Jones films were when it came out.
Yeah, exactly.
No way.
Yeah.
Nearly.
Wow.
Well, the
in 2 years it
19 years gap.
Oh God, I hate stats like that.
It's crazy. Yeah. So 2 years time. So what a film. I enjoyed it more this time, and I don't know if it's because I think last time I probably was just overwhelmingly thinking the whole time, why are they doing this? He's so old. And I think that in a way Harrison Ford has continued to make action movies to the point where, as we've just said, he doesn't look that old anymore in this film.
No.
It's kind of, maybe that's why he's been doing it, to make this film look better. Just a determined grind, to make him look younger in Crystal Skull.
Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it a lot more this time. I mean, I'm not saying I enjoyed it. I definitely think that it's not without merit at all. But then it just goes absolutely batshit at some points, and I don't understand who they're trying to appeal to with some of the stuff. It's just like it's just mad to me. But
do you have a one-line take, Rob, before we get into a bit of a scene by scene?
A one-line take on the whole film?
Yeah, I've got one. Have you got one?
I don't know if I have a one-liner. It's like Indiana Jones meets Ancient Aliens.
It is that, yeah. It is, and I was going to say the thing which got me more than anything at the time. The thing that got me was the aliens. I was like, well, this is a different brand of. It's like when you get Thor in a superhero. He's like, well, he's a god. That's weird. And then there's magic in Marvel, and this is similarly. It's like this isn't kind of ancient religious style things. This is just fucking aliens. That's rubbish.
Yeah.
But this time, what I thought more than anything was that I can see a continuity between the films and the people who made them, and the biggest thing that seems to have changed in my mind is the style of filmmaking and that we've entered a digital era of effects and the impact that has on sometimes very simple moments, and the craft of those earlier films having so much to do with going the long way round and maybe showing something which it doesn't look as good. It does look, you know what I mean? It doesn't look as realistic or whatever, but or maybe is limited in perspective, but it gives a sense of the film which I think is lost.
I think I said previously or hinted at previously that one of these movies, I knew I didn't like it from the very first moment, and that is this movie.
Well, you brought us straight into the movie.
The cinema, as soon as, you know, they do the classic, got to do it apparently, it's the rule, power mount into real mountain, or you think it's a real mountain.
Yeah.
Turns out to be a mound of earth, and then a CG gopher appears, and that just at the time and now still just set my spidey senses tingling. It's just as you say, a different kind of filmmaking. Obviously that wouldn't have been possible apart from highly training a gopher previously, and now it is possible. Just because we can do it, I don't know that means that we should.
I know it's kind of crazy to spend any time at all on the gopher, but I'm going to.
Well, the gopher does return. You know, the gopher is
there loads.
They're in three moments and I hate every moment.
This is exactly right, because and this kind of highlights what I was saying perfectly. If they had done this in the first one, if they'd wanted to make this joke, it would have been a gopher which they had squashed up from the bottom of the ground with a stick.
Get up there.
Who would have gone up and gone, I'm a fucking gopher. And he would have run off somewhere. And you'd have just gone, oh, that was a gopher.
Yes.
And now it's like, he gets up, he pauses, looks around, he's got a little character. He's like one step away from a fucking CG talking animal.
Yeah.
Why is he in my Indiana Jones movie?
I don't know. The second time he appears is when the rocket is shooting.
That's a perfect fandom. Why is he in my Indiana Jones movie?
The second time he appears is or they appear, I think it's a family of gophers this time, is when the rocket is shooting across the desert. Yeah. And it just cuts to the gophers looking at the rocket. And I was so sure, and I couldn't think what I was channeling. I was so sure it was going to pull out some tiny sunglasses. What I was channeling was Wallace and Gromit, which is the mice in the basement when the rocket takes off. Pull out tiny sunglasses, but that's the style of that's what I would not have put it past them. Is that they just pulled out some sunglasses? It's got nothing to do with anything.
I'm going to blame Spielberg Lucas as a Gestalt entity, but standing in for everyone who's made this film of just going, we can do this, so we should do this.
Yes.
Don't do it.
No.
Don't do it. And in a way, that's the entire film. We can do this. We can make another one of these with Harrison Ford. And we've not even, it would have been interesting if we'd had our kind of more scholarly cap on in terms of the production history, because this, I remember, took a long time to come together, and people were kind of like maybe a decade. And this is what we got. The shift in time brings us to post-World War II. Russians are the bad guys instead of Nazis. I don't mind that. And we find Indiana Jones being captured, or has already been captured, by Soviet agents in a warehouse in what seems to be Area 51. The thing which I guess I didn't need it to be the same kind of opening sequence as the first film, or in the way like those kind of opening set pieces that we've enjoyed in the first kind of three films. The car ride did seem a strange choice. Post Gopher, because I just found those kids really annoying.
Yeah,
I didn't really understand the tension between them, and obviously you kind of realise very soon that the soldiers are in disguise. But
I had misremembered and again thought that they were going to crash. I thought that the kids were going to crash and the soldiers were just going to carry on and not care.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen. So it's weird that I thought that. And I don't know, I just was thinking about George Lucas, I suppose. Just thinking, I guess Lucas really just wanted this, 50s car culture is his bag, his jam. And he must have been like, we should do a little car thing at the start. And we'll do a gopher thing first, then car thing. Then Stephen, you can have something. But I really believe in the gophers.
Yeah.
Trust me. They're going to make this movie work.
George, why have you got a bag full of jam?
It's like the precursors to the Porgs, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the new Star Wars.
Well,
we can't blame George Lucas for the Porgs, unfortunately.
The pendulum swung away from Jar Jar Binks.
I reckon it was still his idea.
We don't know what's in those contracts, Nate. To be like, yes,
That's
you can
true.
have Star Wars, but there's 3
There's one
sealed
thing.
envelopes, one for each movie you make, and you have to do.
Palpatine's got to come back.
Yeah, somehow. I won't.
What?
You decide. Somehow,
No,
Palpatine
and the line
returns.
has to be.
I would love it though to just speak to them both, Spielberg and Lucas.
Yeah.
We get them on the phone, get them on the podcast,
We should be
because they
able
know
to.
what they're doing.
But the thing is, they've
You know what you
reached
did.
a level of filmmaking where I don't think you care anymore. I imagine that they just thought it'd be funny.
Yeah,
You know, and it's like when we're like poring over it, and it's like, I don't really care.
Well, do
I
you know
just thought
what?
it was funny. I liked it. I like the Gophers.
We've watched
and
a bunch
I
of-
made a movie, so bye.
We've watched a bunch of Lucas and a bunch of Spielberg at this point, and well, actually more Spielberg. But it does seem that when you're on it, when you're making Jaws, you're working on those same instincts, and you're just not going wrong. And what else do you have to rely on? If you start second guessing yourself, then you're probably going to make something even worse.
Yeah.
I think that you just accept people get to a certain point, or they just occasionally do things which are bad.
It is
Sometimes
also. I
those
mean,
things are Gophers.
we've talked before about just the how restrictions and limits are good, and they breed creative thinking and problem solving. And the computer era has lifted the lid on that and just been like, actually, really, you can do pretty much anything you want. And suddenly maybe that's not. I don't think that's a good
I do think
thing.
the smartest filmmakers are very restrictive in their use of it.
Yeah.
Even though, or maybe not restrictive in a different sense, because one of the kind of new kind of counterintuitive like kind of YouTube behind the scenes video is, hey, that scene you thought wasn't CG? It's got loads of CG in it.
Yeah.
And I do think it's a bit different. Painting out like a building or whatever is very different from, there was a scene in this film in the forest when Mutt is straddling 2 jeeps,
Yes.
and we're underneath in between the jeeps riding forward, an impossible camera position for a practical camera, an impossible thing to do for a human being. And behind them it didn't look completely rubbish, but it was so unreal, just blurred green shadow, sunlight, jungle going behind them. And I was
Just a
paused
loop.
just thinking what does anybody think this is good? Like, I don't know. I don't, what are we doing here? Like, am I supposed to be excited?
I think this film it suffered a little bit having just watched the other movies, because a lot of it felt like a set, and that is a bit of an unfair thing to say, because of course movies are filmed on sets, but I'm thinking about The Last Crusade, and at least you get some exterior of Petra, and they're in the desert somewhere, and a canyon somewhere, and Venice, and it's really grounded in the real world. Whereas this, apart from this sort of car chase around the college, everywhere else is very kind of contained and quite fantastical, really. And it's like, we're in that warehouse, we're in a ancient tomb, we're in the jungle's definitely not any real jungle, and it just sort of tells a little bit. I don't really mind it, but it's kind of related to the CG thing. I think is that everything feels less real than it did previously.
Does anybody have any nice things to say? Does anybody enjoy this opening scene at all? I quite enjoyed, in a way. Actually, I've already got ambivalent feelings about it. But how many Russians are pointing their guns at Indiana Jones before he got out of the car, and that was kind of his big build-up moment.
I thought that was cool.
For his introduction.
I did enjoy bits of it. I did. I thought his reveal was good. The Russians around the car, the sort of annoyance he has at picking up his hat. You think he's going to pick up his hat in a certain way, in a sort of slow.
Put it back on.
Put my hat on. I'm Indiana Jones, and instead he's sort of like and it's an age thing. I think sort of a tired about it, which I enjoyed. It was like this is a slightly different Indiana Jones to before. Which I think was good. I'm not a big fan of Ray Winston in this movie, and their little dialogue right away was just, again,
This is the key-
Gophers in the back of my mind.
This is the key thing for me in trying to work out when I was watching this. Why isn't this film good? Why isn't it good?
Yeah,
Because all of the things in it could be good.
Yeah.
Even the aliens, really. Like, there's no rule
I
anywhere
agree.
that says aliens can't be in an Indiana Jones film.
No.
They exist in the same sphere, I guess, as some of the other supernatural things we've had. But there's no one I like in this film, really. I don't like Ray Winston. I don't like Mutt. Even Marion, I thought, was a little bit of a caricature of herself from the first film. It's like, go on, come back and be Marion. Do lots of Marion-y things. And there's nothing, with Ray Winston, they were trying to paint him as this, slightly likeable, obviously greedy, backstabbing, selfish bastard. But they tried to give him a little bit of, they wanted the audience to feel something for him. And I just didn't.
It's like Harry Redknapp.
I didn't even like it. I didn't even care when Indiana Jones punched him. I don't even hate him enough to enjoy hating him. He's was just very tepid, lukewarm character.
It made me think a little bit of The Mummy, of your man there. Benny, although obviously I accept the difference being that Benny is a likable character, even though he's, a bad guy. But what I mean is more that they tried to take back from The Mummy that, the end, really, Ray Winston's character, Mac, being greedy.
Yeah.
And Indiana Jones tries to save him, but he's too greedy and he doesn't really make it. And I found that completely unbelievable because, that's the difference. Is like Benny, you knew that they still had like a kind of a kinship and he was a bit of a cheeky chappy. In this, I was like, Max just double crossed you
twice.
He's got no moral fiber whatsoever. I get no real. I hate the kind of remember Berlin, remember whatever. Like you just get kind of told that they've got a friendship, but it's not very believable somehow. I think maybe they just don't have any chemistry together. It felt quite acted, and so at the end when he was like trying to save him, I was like, no, just let him.
Those guys are acting.
Just let him go.
What's going on? I didn't love that, and actually, I was kind of thrown out at the same time when they were trying to sell the shared kind of wartime history of how many times have we been in this sort of scrape, Jonesy.
Yeah.
I was wrestling with the idea of whether I enjoyed Harrison Ford as someone who then had like this military history that we've obviously skipped over.
Yeah.
So we kind of see him pre-Nazi or pre-World War II in the build-up, in the warm-up to the Second World War. And now we see him in the decade afterwards. And we are told about him being in the OSS, which is the... what is it? Is it CIA?
I don't know.
It's the beginning of the...
I've not heard of it before.
I've only known it from games, but it's the special service. It's like
a division of the CIA. I
think it's the precursor to it.
Right.
Anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's a secret service, and I guess I was spent a long time then thinking about like George Lucas again and the idea of this character and the influences and the sort of matinee heroes that would have informed a character like this, and I guess I was kind of like, well, why is he... I didn't see Indiana Jones as like a patriotic figure who is fighting Nazis, fighting the Russians and doing whatever. But then I guess during wartime, maybe a character like that would be exactly who would be in the... So I spent ages basically thinking about that stuff. And
I had the same thoughts.
Being a bit weirded out. And by the end, actually, accommodating myself to it and sort of enjoying it. But I think taking all of that into account, being introduced to Ray Winston as a new character, having a slightly rubbish introduction with the kids in the car and the gopher, and then realizing that we were like probably looking for an alien. I didn't love the magnetic, let's just in this warehouse. I also didn't love, we talked about Tony Gilroy, and it's not exactly what they're doing here, but Tony Gilroy, the showrunner of Andor, and the idea of like his golden rule, or one of his rules about working on in an established fictional universe, is to leave more toys in the box after you've been there than before, and to immediately go, we're back at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, that giant warehouse full of interesting ideas that we've tantalized you with. Well, wouldn't you like to be in that place? To which my answer is fucking no. Of course I wouldn't like to be in this place. I would rather... it's such a perfect ending to that film because it's an unknowable... It's like, oh my God, what's in there? It's like, well, if you walked around, it wouldn't be so fucking interesting, would it? So
it's all very paper thin as well. There's no... they didn't really need Indiana Jones to find the box. Like he doesn't know. He's not been there before. He doesn't... And they said that they had found 2 aliens in Russia anyway, so they would know about the magnetism thing, although they said it's in a sarcophagus. I don't know, it feels just quite paper thin. I didn't dislike the like gunpowder thing and the search for it, and then the ensuing sort of action, him trying to to swing his way into her car and getting it wrong and then falling back into the truck.
I guess I don't know. Again, maybe once a couple of things don't land, I'm sat there going, be a real Indiana Jones film, and then everything is kind of bouncing off a little bit. But go on, Rob.
The thing is, I thought you touched upon what we've talked about quite a lot on the podcast before about spoiling things that have previously been exciting and mysterious, and the tendency for modern films. And where does that barrier? Where did this start? When did this start happening? That things that have been excitingly mysterious in the past have, we've come back and we've made extra films to these old classic series that probably should have and could have been left alone. But obviously, how can you when they're so exciting and iconic? Everyone wants another Indiana Jones movie until it comes out. But it is just, and there's that little shot, isn't there, of the box with the Ark of the Covenant in it, just open a little bit. And there is absolutely no reason for that to be in this movie other than for audiences, again, in the cinema. When I first watched this, I don't remember this. I didn't know what the warehouse was. I couldn't remember the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Right.
But seeing it yesterday, I could just, again, and it annoys me, just hearing all of the whispers in the cinema. Just a few men leaning over to their bored partners. It's the Ark. Raiders of the Lost Ark. And that's who it's for. It's got no reason to be in the film other than that. And I think it was quite apt that we get this big, flamboyant CGE set piece where obviously I think 70% of it is going to be a stunt man. Harrison Ford's not running around all over the place, clambering over, shooting through and shouting around the set that represents like an idea of mystery from the end of the first film, where it's like you say, a little tantalizing glimpse into what this, how wide does the world of the supernatural go? It's almost like saying at the end of Raiders, okay, could the Ark be real? Could it really be real? This little hint, and you just put it in that big room full of other stuff, and the thought is, holy shit, if the Ark of the Covenant's real, like what else conspiracy theory stuff is hidden away in this warehouse? End of the film.
Yeah.
You just go away and think about that. But we're just barreling through it, churning through it, just ripping it up, blowing it up.
Well, no, and that as well, Rob. You said there's a whole film which is obviously we see the angels and shit, so we know it's probably real. But it is like, is it real? And then in this one, within 10 minutes, there's a fucking alien hand. You can just see the alien.
Yeah,
I could not believe
they don't even. I know. I felt exactly the same way. This time I tried to give it a bit more credence, just because I just thought I don't want to just go in and hate it. But this is
me having enjoyed the film a little bit more.
Yeah, well, same. I mean, I basically hated this the whole way through. But the aliens thing, I kind of dislike myself for having a problem with it, because I do agree with what Rob said, that I know what you mean. Why are aliens?
That's a different genre.
That's a different kind of supernatural, and whatever. It's like, why does it? The religion, it
ties into that kind of an ancient civilization because they were supposed to be there.
I think that it's just the discourse around aliens is sort of, it is a completely different genre, and that's the thing, right? It's you go on the search for the Holy Grail, or you go on the search for the Ark of the Covenant. The Nazis were literally after these things. If you believe the stories, like Hitler was literally interested in trying to find the Holy Grail, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it is linked to something that, some people do believe in these things, whereas aliens is a completely different genre, and the discourse around aliens is often a little bit more wacky. You wouldn't think of an archaeologist going looking for aliens. No. You wouldn't think of a scientist going looking for aliens. And the aliens in this film are presented in much the same way that guy with the hair talks about them on Ancient Aliens, Georgios, whatever he's called, that alien guy, and it is with a theatricality and you get mocked and laughed at, don't you? If you get that stereotypical image of someone from way out in the middle of nowhere in America saying, "Oh, I got abducted by aliens," and everyone laughing at them and going, "Oh, you're the mad guy who says he's been abducted by aliens." I think if they'd have treated it a little bit differently and given them a little bit of mystery and never really revealed, was it actually aliens, or But like you say,
why do we not just see a light emanating from that box? Why do I have to see a hand and an alien shape?
They obviously want you to know right away. Like
It's kind of-
maybe suspend your disbelief or something like that.
And I guess to Rob's point, I guess the thing which I agree with both of these elements simultaneously, that it is kind of ridiculous to not want it to be aliens.
Yeah.
But that is where I started and how I basically feel, because it is a different genre. And I think what I was trying to do yesterday, and I felt more affectionate and sort of a softer to it, is the idea that if you're George Lucas, you probably feel like you've really threaded the eye of the needle on this. And in terms of you're updating Indiana Jones, and we're in the 1950s now, and the second half of the 20th century there is this idea of, like, this is when aliens kind of enter the popular consciousness. It is more technologically, I guess that's really, for me, it's kind of like we're moving from a certain kind of boy's own story, or King Solomon's minds, like ancient civilizations and ideas, and the idea that there's something in antiquity which we fail to understand, to something much more modern and science fiction, essentially. And I guess that, Indiana Jones isn't, to me, a science fiction story, and that's where I have trouble with it. But the idea that there is, as the alien, that guy with the fucking hair, there is this, like Stargate, basically, like aliens have visited these old civilizations, and that's how they're so advanced. And so I guess you kind of like, well, I can plug Indiana Jones into that, and I can then do something which feels timely to the 1950s. I kind of get it, but it doesn't feel like a natural fit.
I think this, maybe it's about religion itself, isn't it? Religion is, faith.
Yeah.
There's a kind of power. I'm thinking about the music, literally thinking about the music from Raiders and from The Last Crusade. The themes for those things have, I don't know how to describe it really, but they kind of convey power and like beyond human, like it's our power. It's the power of faith, really, that they're talking about, and you just can't do that with aliens, because aliens don't require faith, or you maybe believe in aliens, maybe you don't. They're like a scientific idea, like they either do exist or they don't, and it's not about. There's no question of can belief in them give you power and all this kind of thing. So I think it's kind of that as well. It's like it's a different. It's not just like, oh well, I can just. Anything anyone can think of could be real, and therefore it could be in an Indiana Jones film.
Well, you're right. The tension of Indiana Jones is that he's a skeptic.
Yeah,
he is interested in evidence and archaeology, and he's confronted with, and there is so much talk in the first and third films especially about the idea of faith, and we kind of laughed at it last time, because it's like, mate, you've literally seen the Ark of the Covenant with fucking angels flying out of it.
Yeah.
How are you struggling with faith at the leap from the lion's head? And that leads back to the idea that if God exists, if those things are true, our place in the universe is more secure, life has meaning, good exists in the universe, it's a happy, it's something you want to believe in. Can you give yourself over to this idea? If aliens exist, like there's a fucking bunch of guys flying about in the sky. Yeah. Like, it doesn't make any difference. Anyway.
It's all part of God's plan.
Well, it must be, because we know in the world of Indiana Jones, at least, God definitely exists.
God definitely exists, and aliens exist as well.
Yeah.
So God's made aliens.
And magic stones exist.
Yeah. But then the aliens in this movie were worshipped as gods by the Mayans.
Yeah. The other thing I hated when I saw this the first time, and I hate it this time, is the moment that Ox turns back to regains. But he just says they're interdimensional beings, actually, or something like that, as a point of fact. And I was just like, oh, shut up.
Why shut up?
Because I don't care. Like, it's like they're aliens. They're not actually aliens. They're interdimensional beings.
The thing that annoyed me was, what a waste of John Hurt, this entire film. Wake him up in the camp. Yeah. Give me John Hurt for half an hour of this movie. I don't want him fucking...
He only has about 3 lines.
He's a brilliant conduit, John Hurt, or he could have been, for conveying the gravitas and the power of these horrific, terrifying, unknowable beings. Are they really horrific and terrifying? What's even their plan?
They're not,
the aliens. They're not doing
bad
anything,
at all.
really.
They came down and taught us irrigation, and
then off they flew.
The wheel. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Mayan temple was just a cover for the UFO flying saucer all along.
It's crazy no one's ever found that. It's mad.
Yeah.
So we spent half an hour just talking about the Gophers and the warehouse. They escape from the military base.
We've got to talk about the other thing I hate.
Okay.
Well, you're about to. Sorry, yeah. I assume Indiana Jones surviving a nuclear blast inside a fridge. I hate it.
So I have trouble with this scene. Obviously, this is the bit of the movie which became most infamous at this, and it was like the internet was really good at hating stuff at this point by 2008. So we had Jumping the Shark, and then we had Nuking the Fridge became a byword for things being shit. I really like him turning. So it's a whiplash for me because I love the scene of him turning up to the eerie, abandoned town, and a town which has been built to test the effects of a blast. And I was kind of thinking, would there be a working TV? Because I guess they want to be like, well,
what happens to TVs?
Wouldn't work. No, they'd be fridges though.
Yeah,
really good.
But how do they know unless they've got a camera watching the TV and then they find out what nuclear blasts do to cameras?
Exactly.
Is this where the Nuketown map from Call of Duty came from?
I don't think this is where it came from. I think this is a real idea. This is a real thing.
They're probably both drawn from the same actual thing. But
at least half truth.
Would Call of Duty have put
actually was Nuketown in Modern Warfare the first one?
What was that? Sorry,
was Nuketown in the very first Modern Warfare?
It was in one of the Black Ops.
It was in
games, wasn't it? I thought. I don't know.
So after this,
because Modern Warfare was 2007, which would have been before this, but I can't remember if Nuketown was there. Anyway, doesn't matter.
No,
that's what it reminded me.
I don't think so. I don't think it was in Modern Warfare, but.
So I enjoyed the eeriness and the sort of the. I guess it's kind of a slightly sinister version of the golden post-war era in American. It's a great way of kind of just showing that without showing it. It did make me think, if Indiana Jones had gotten into a fridge and survived that blast, why isn't the shot of the town exploding and gradually, which is a very impressive bit of CG destruction, why aren't there like 20 fridges all flying?
Great question.
Out. If fridges are fine,
that's
what I want to know. Why aren't they all?
Maybe
fridges are fine.
We just didn't see them.
Yeah,
fridges are fine. Maybe he's in there holding the door shut, and the other fridges, the door flings open, and they don't have such good aerodynamics.
Also, he would just be a jelly in there, wouldn't he?
I mean, I just think even if he isn't, killed by the shockwave, he must be killed by just the fridge landing and bouncing its way towards some gophers.
If you put an egg in a Tupperware box, and you drop it from a building,
I didn't do that bit.
Egg is now the star of a major motion picture.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just this is the problem. Like I know, there's a lot of things in Indiana Jones that ask you to suspend your disbelief, but in this movie they cross that line. I think they just go where no one can no longer suspend their disbelief.
It's why,
like 3 or 4 times.
Nuking the fridge is a very good saying.
It's a saying.
It's exactly the line. No. I will believe in literal angels.
It was taking the mick out of loads, wasn't it? I think even it was one of the Fallout games where you can you find like a whip and a hat inside a fridge. And the fridge is
that's right,
is wrecked and destroyed.
Yeah.
Those bastards. Harrison Ford will never recover.
No.
So we didn't enjoy that.
No, I really don't like that. And then, of course, we get the last bit with the gopher. Where just being a gopher, thank God. Every time I see it, I'm like, you're going to do something human or, I don't know, get some sunglasses.
It's just a strange idea for a set piece, isn't it? Because I don't understand. Is it just to really ram home the point that we're in that era?
I think it
sort
is.
of like
What,
nuclear
of
paranoia, Cold War era. Like why is there a set piece? Where
I think it's that, and just to have like, God, I feel like we need a bit more. We need something, don't we?
We can do a CG nuclear explosion in this film. Do it.
Oh, and it could go back. We could get to the gophers, and it rhymes.
Would this film literally be better if he had escaped on the Jeep and then just been picked up by Army intelligence?
Yes,
and gone back to the briefing.
It would have been better. Yes, I think it would have been better.
You can just make that cut, can't you? You could just. Yeah.
It's an expensive cut, but yes, you can.
Yeah.
You can make that cut.
And then a bit of McCarthyism is in the air in the next few scenes.
Yes. I really didn't enjoy this scene either, partly because I was wrestling with what you were talking about, Nath, the idea of Indiana Jones being a war hero. And that it's just something, we don't have it so much in the UK, that kind of
reverence.
God damn it, that man's a war hero.
I've been asked to clap servicemen on planes before in America.
Yeah.
And I've got nothing against them individually.
No.
Well, it seems like such a strange thing to ask me to do.
Yeah. And here we are with our army in tatters. So maybe, maybe we should be doing more clapping. But it's just like, and
It worked for the NHS.
I didn't enjoy either side of it. I didn't enjoy the FBI having zero respect for Indiana Jones.
No.
And I didn't enjoy the guy from Neighbours, Jim from Neighbours, being his lawyer,
simply being Australian, as far as I could tell,
and just going the other way and just going, no, actually, this man's a real war hero.
No, I agree with you. It was telling me that something about Indiana Jones I hadn't seen for myself, so I didn't really have a particularly big stake in it, versus people being mean to him, which I didn't particularly enjoy. Again, you kind of look at the army intelligence scene, which I do all the time, and I bang on about it, in Raiders of the Lost Ark, those characters having a much more realistic, I think it's just got to do with how you treat your audience. How stupid are they? How like how much? And again, I go back to kind of Spielberg scenes in Jaws, the table scene, and the scene with the three of them on the boat, and the dynamics between them are so human and complicated compared to this, where it's just two men in suits being really, you're a person of interest. Really big interest to the Bureau. Fuck off. Just like give me a scene where it's like, why not just a little bit of like, Mr. Jones, Dr. Jones, I want to tell you personally, I believe in you, but in this climate, we just simply cannot let this. Give me a sense of what those people, no one was actually walking around like that fucking time. People don't do that. Anyway.
Also, like the experiment, amazing for the experiment. They've gone, how did all the wooden people survive the blast? They're like, they all just burned like wood, actually. But there was one guy. There was a what? There was a guy there. There was an actual human man there. He survived. Yeah. Well, can we speak to him? We sent him back. We just gave him a slap on the wrist. This would have been great information. He could have told us what.
And then I think the next scene really suffers from the lack of
Marcus.
Denholm Elliott.
Yeah.
Who has a painting and a statue, it turns out.
He does.
But is not there. So his replacement is...
Jim Broadbent.
Oh, Jimmy Broadbent.
Big Jim Broadbent.
I like Jim Broadbent.
I like Jim Broadbent. Not in this.
No. Again, he's just another... I don't care about him. Even when he says, I resigned. With his big,
that was a very good Jim Broadbent.
Big Jim Broadbent eyes.
Yeah.
I like that bit.
In his glasses.
Oh, did you? Oh,
Henry,
I feel bad about what I said now.
Yeah. Well, that is basically the next scene. The next scene, we're back in, I think, similar kind of to scenes we've seen in Last Crusade, very similar. Having a little port in Indy's house as he prepares to, what's he doing? Oh, he's leaving. He's fucking
leaving.
off. I'm off.
He's just leaving.
Fuck you guys.
Yeah.
I'm going home.
Yeah.
He's had enough of America in the grips of McCarthyism and the Reds under the bed scare. So he's out of there. And then he is literally almost out of there until a young man finds him at the train station.
What an intro.
You feel like you died.
What an intro, hey? On the bike with his leather jacket and his hat at a jaunty angle.
Yeah.
Here comes Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
Shia LaBeouf. Had he just been in Transformers at this stage? Was this like
Transformers
peak?
A little early.
Was his peak Shia LaBeouf popularity before he went through his phase, and now
decline?
And now he's back. He's back now.
I don't really know much about what Shia LaBeouf's been through. I'll be honest. I know that he was around. Then he wasn't around so much. Didn't he watch all his movies on a live stream?
He's had some troubling times. I don't know the ins and outs of what Shia LaBeouf has been through.
Being famous is super hard.
Yes.
He was young and thrust into the limelight, wasn't he?
He was in some great films, and I always thought that in the original Transformers, which Steven Spielberg exec produced and Michael Bay directed, there's an interview, I think either with Michael Bay or Steven Spielberg, where he said this is basically a movie about a boy in his first car, and I was like, do you know what, what a great Spielbergian starting point to have this sort of rite of passage of American youth. Maybe not today so much, but certainly know from the 1940s or 50s up to the 80s, 90s. Just a great idea, and I thought that as a conduit for that sort of role, I thought he was really good in that film.
I really enjoyed the first Transformers film.
We should watch.
I would watch the first Transformers film and
my God.
not watch any of the others.
And I didn't like him in this particularly, but this was still at a point where I was kind of like, I'm sort of interested in Shia LaBeouf and what he's up to. A terrible timing. I think this was right before he sort of went off a bit of a cliff. And I think, he had substance abuse issues and some psychological issues and just issues, innit? Issues basically of being famous and unhappy.
I don't think that he is bad in this movie. I don't think the character is.
I don't think he's got a chance.
Is good.
Who can you put next to Harrison Ford and expect to enjoy them at all? Unless you look at the other, you could Sean fucking Connery.
I know you got to go bigger,
and
or
even,
like.
Can you go bigger? I mean, Sean Connery
is probably like
one of the only.
And even then, Sean Connery isn't really competing. He's such a different type.
He has to be a different Sean Connery.
You have Salah, or you have Marcus. You have these sort of caricatures, these fun, vibrant, big pantomime characters.
It's like when they had Joseph Gordon-Levitt in The Dark Knight Rises. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And it was like left at the end, hinting that Joseph Gordon-Levitt would become the next Batman. Obviously, no one wanted that. So they didn't make him. And just skipping right to the very end, there's the shot, obviously, where his hat falls on the floor and it falls at the feet of Mutt. And no one's thinking, yes, we can make a new series of Indiana Jones films with Shia LaBeouf as the star.
Well, let's not spoil this, but have you seen the new Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
Dial of Destiny?
Yeah.
No, I've not seen that.
Because they're interesting.
Well, but also, I liked that bit at the end because I thought that was what they were saying. If he'd picked that hat and put it on, just like I wish I'd walked out when the flying saucer happened. But they don't do that, and I kind of liked that. It was like, no, that's not happening.
Yeah, I think it's just having its cake and eating it.
Maybe.
That's what it said to me. There is a character in Twin Peaks: The Return, which was made in 2017, played by Michael Cera, called Wally Brando, who is. I don't know if I enjoy Twin Peaks: The Return. I certainly didn't like Wally Brando, who
I like Michael Cera.
And he plays it completely straight, but obviously therefore hilarious. He's got a little pencil moustache, and he drives a big motorbike, and he sort of rides into town, and his parents are there, and his parents are two of the most awful. Well, his parents are Andy and Lucy. So
I've forgotten.
So the police,
Andy and Lucy, they've had a little boy.
Yeah, and
it's Michael Cera.
And he's playing a character called Wally Brando, and they like fawn over him. Oh, Wally's back. And he's just there going, yeah, I'm cool. And now having seen this, I'm like, it feels like David Lynch was just saying, your movie was shit. It was shit. Why the fuck would anyone let him ride a motorbike up and down the platform? Why would you do that instead of parking it outside?
I don't know.
You're going to run someone over.
Yeah.
You're going to fall off the edge of the platform.
It's because he doesn't care, man. He's cool. He doesn't give a shit.
It just made me instantly detest everything.
Well, the scene where you're learning a little bit about his character and he's just helping himself to another table's beer and helping himself to that other guy's comb. Is that supposed to make us like Mutt?
No.
What's it trying to tell us about him?
He's
just an entitled, troublemaking, I don't care about anyone else, I'll just take what I need when I see it.
Yeah, I guess the whole thing is like, he's troubled, isn't he? And like, always, I quite like the Indiana Jones constantly calling him out on his temper and stuff, and just being like, you don't need to do that. Yeah. I suppose it's like, ultimately, I guess we're going to find out, yes, he never had a dad, and it turns out he's with his dad, and his dad is teaching him to be a better person. So he needs to be a bad guy, sort of, so that his dad can come back and
straighten him out.
The first words he says to Indiana Jones are "old man."
Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? Because he is his old man.
Have you been reading IMDb again?
I watched the film literally last night.
Yeah, I know, but you forget all kinds of things in films. I literally just said a minute ago, old man, but I had not put together.
I remembered
that
he was Indiana Jones' son. I remembered that.
Yeah.
And then when he said old man, I was like, that's funny.
Yeah. I didn't put together two and two together.
They have a chase.
Yes.
On a motorbike, which is being driven by not Shia LaBeouf, but you can see his face.
Wait a minute. Sorry. Why do the Russians want him? Why are the KGB after him now?
So Harrison Ford explains this with a very short line of exposition.
Yeah.
That they had let either Marion or
it was the
Ox,
letter,
and they needed the letter to be translated, and so they let it get to Indiana Jones, and then they intercepted it.
Right, that's right. Now I remember.
And then there's a bit of driving around. I enjoy those scenes in the college and the green and the red brick and the wooden interiors. And I didn't love it this time. And I thought that the moment with the Marcus Brody statue was so strange because Mutt thinks it's funny because the bad guys we're being invited to both disapprove and approve at the same time. So Marcus's head rolls smashes their windows, and it's kind of like, even in death, Marcus is taking part in this movie. Mutt laughs, and Indy's like, "No, it doesn't say anything. It's my friend. Obviously, you've just desecrated his statue there. That's terrible."
Yeah,
and that was my take.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's a good call. Like we've all talked in these movies about how much we've really enjoyed Marcus's character.
Yeah,
it's great. Maybe I don't even know how I feel about just the sort of memorial scenes that they have for him and Sean Connery. In a way, it's a little bit like, okay, but I don't want to see that scene. That's not funny or good.
Do you know, I like the line. I thought it was a really good line when Professor Slughorn says, "We've reached the age where life takes things away rather than giving us things." And he says it better than that. Yeah. And I thought, that's quite a nice line.
Yeah.
And then actually, as I was watching the film about an hour later, I thought, wouldn't it have been really good if those pictures had been on the desk and he'd said that line, and no one had said, "And my dad died," and Marcus,
in that order. If you're wondering at home, it was Dad first, then Marcus second.
Do you remember when the big people in my life died, Professor Slughorn?
Do you think that film, and certainly blockbuster film, there's just a way of speaking in them now? There's just a way for characters to talk. It's different to how it used to be. Almost like film as, the way that theatre actors will speak and perform on stage.
Right.
There's a quality to it, right? That's a little bit different to what you'd expect to see in TV, a little bit different to what you'd expect to see in film. And you were speaking earlier about all of these different characters and how you're not getting the thing you want from them. You're not getting the humanity in them. You're not getting the fact or the sense that they're real people at all. They're just conduits really to give the audience information and propel the plot forward. And this feels like it's everywhere now. Like, surely the original Indiana Jones movies were the blockbusters of the day. They were the blockbusters of the 80s. That's as mainstream as cinema gets.
100%.
And there is like a different way that those characters are talking to each other.
I don't know.
And is it because filmmakers think audiences are stupid?
Well, it's a process. And I think it is partly to do with that. I think it's partly because a generation of how to write your screenplay has happened. I mean, in a way, it's kind of difficult to be like misty-eyed about it or nostalgic about it because in the studio era, so kind of pre-1950s Hollywood, there was a real procession. There was like stables of writers who'd be put together with other elements of like a filmmaking crew to churn out westerns. They would have sets which they would reuse. They'd have costumes they'd reuse. Stars would you'd go from one package to another, just basically it's like a five-a-side team. You just do the teams differently every week. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but we're having another game. We're just making another one. So in a way, there was always like those styles and those ways of doing things, and every now and again someone really good would come along, or these people were all very skilled, and you just generate some stuff that was better than others. And I think what's maybe changed since the 80s and since like loads of stuff, but like two of the big things, one is that sense of how to make a commercial film or how to screenwrite and the science of screenwriting and how to tell a story, which is a good way to tell a story. And actually sometimes I just watched 28 Years Later, and it doesn't follow a bunch of those rules. It's quite episodic, and it really is like a bit of a head fuck. But it's more, in a way I was like, well, that's more interesting than just watching the same sort of really interestingly kind of smoothly formulaic stuff. And the other thing is like previews, and there's always been previews, but they are, as more and more money got spent on, as blockbusters became the dominant form of kind of Hollywood money making, the risks got higher. So to alleviate the risk, you'd show your film to audiences beforehand, and then you would take those scores and you would change the marketing, but sometimes you would also change the film, and to the point where I think probably by the 90s, but certainly by now, reshoots are baked into the production schedule and the budget of a film. So when everyone's like, oh, massive reshoots, whatever, it's like, well, almost all films have reshoots, and some of them are bigger than others. I hear figures of up to a quarter of the budget is set aside, or maybe a third of the budget, and that seems huge, but it's set aside for reshoots, to tailor it in that way. And I do think that once you do that, you are pandering to the audience. You can't help it. It's baked into the, if enough people write on a card, I didn't really understand that scene. Oh, that scene where they had Indy there, I don't really understand the 1950s and the tensions there. So like, what is that? Oh, let's make sure that those guys are really fucking evil in that scene. Do you know what I mean? Like, I do think you get rid of nuance, whereas probably Spielberg in the 1980s, is a mode of filmmaking which is much more about just telling those stories and like how to express those ideas in the most interesting way. And I think that is, of course I do, like more... But maybe it doesn't make you money as often, maybe there are more failures, but then the stuff that stands out, it isn't. As a kid, I didn't understand that fucking scene with the army guys, but it was but I didn't understand the important.
It was like when we talk about, I didn't understand any of the talking bits in Jurassic Park when I was a kid,
right?
But it didn't make me like the movie any less.
No.
Hey Rob, there was a meme I saw this morning, when I haven't sent it to you yet, so I'm bringing it up on our podcast, but it's just a picture of the architect, and it says, what does it say? Oh fuck, I'm gonna fuck up the quote, but it's basically saying, it took us 6 goes to make the perfect awful fucking sequel to Jurassic Park, but now we've perfected it. Anyway, it was very good.
I wish I could have seen that rather than hearing about it. The other thing I wanted to say on the focus groups and previews is that, because I agree, Nath, that was my suspicion too, but then after that, the next step after that is you start to make adjustments based on what you think focus groups are going to say. So you don't even get to that point. You go, oh, focus group's going to struggle with what happened to Henry and what happened to Marcus. So let's change that now, or let's write that into the movie now. It's like you start streamlining. You don't want to get notes from a focus group or a preview. No. So they start just dumbing it. It becomes dumbed down earlier on, I suppose. And
as much as you get... It's easy to point to examples of stuff which doesn't do this as much and then is really, really good, or is really, really good, and probably is more nuanced than most TV.
This is like filmmaking by democracy. You shouldn't be inviting opinions of people who don't know what they're talking about.
No, but
audiences
it's a money-making...
don't know what they want.
It's a money-making enterprise, though, isn't it? Or exercise.
It is like democracy, because the problem is, right, people who vote are often wrong, but they are the people who vote. So it doesn't matter. You have to try and win their votes. That's the only way to...
Of course, you want art to be sacred, and you want people just to make the thing as they see it and tell their story or whatever. But they also need to make very few people could just make a film, without any consideration to, will this make any money at all or ruin my reputation? So it's a very imperfect...
Yeah, for sure. I just think, do both. Just do both.
Well, some people maybe...
make great films and people go and see them.
People have done both. And it's the success of films that has built this, we could make more money. If we just straightened out that little kink, we could make a little bit more money next time. And that is, it's Father Ted again at the car, like ding, ding, ding. I think we could just correct that a little bit.
Do you know, I had
get the battered car of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
I was listening to Joe Cornish talk. I can't remember what it was. Maybe one of the podcasts at the end of one of Adam Buxton's books, both of which I listened to recently, and he was talking about previews, and the thing that he said about them, which I thought was really interesting, was that he was talking about the reception to the film and the reviews that came out, and he said I think the question was, was there anything that surprised you or annoyed you or upset you or anything? And he said no, because by the time you get to review stage, you have previewed your film so thoroughly. And even, his films are not necessarily enormous films. They're like medium size. And even then they're spending that much money on getting them previewed. So he says you've seen every possible response and criticism and compliment to your film. And he said the thing that's annoying is he said there aren't that many critics now, so there's maybe 5-10 really meaningful critics globally, and in the UK like fewer. So if one of those critics takes up a critical position which is relatively minor, you're just like, oh, for fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not wrong, but let me please show you the percentage of people who actually think the same thing as you bastards. The thing I was going to say, Rob, was about there being good examples of stuff which doesn't do that and is still nuanced. And that David Simon, who made The Wire and...
one of Rob's favourites.
Yeah, never seen... Oh, yeah, you never... But anyway,
Is that the one about the drugs?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, I tried watching that.
Yeah.
But you're too stupid. That was
I guess so, yeah.
That's the thing.
Didn't get it. Rob's card at the end.
No, I didn't get it.
What's going on?
I didn't get it.
Tell a story.
I watched like 2 or 3. I watched about 2 or 3 episodes of it, and just wasn't for me.
It is a cool character.
And I kept on hearing from people, you got to wait till season 2, and that just annoyed me. I was like, I'm not waiting for
I
season
don't agree.
2.
Season 1 is excellent.
Yeah, I agree. I had to rewatch the first maybe 2 or 3 episodes. I bounced off it the first time. Anyway, he said, fuck the average viewer. That was like, I think someone said, what do you think about it? And he said, fuck the average viewer.
I agree with that
trying to make
sentiment.
really good TV.
I agree with that sentiment.
You must have seen, have you seen the scene where the 2 detectives detect out a crime scene over the course of about 5 minutes, just saying the word fuck? It's so good.
The word,
I don't remember that.
Means,
it's so good.
It's just... The tone of it is just, it's intoned in different ways. It's very
sometimes it's like fuck, like oh no. Sometimes it's like hang on a minute. Sometimes it's like fuck, oh I get it. It's like
it
brilliant.
plays off the characters that they are, the implications of the scene, how much trouble they're going to be back at the station. Oh, it's really good.
It's good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Well, fuck. Wow, we've hardly talked about this movie, really.
We've talked a lot about this
the
movie,
film.
just not so much about the specifics of it.
Yeah.
We're basically down in Peru now. Let's get down to Peru. And because, and Indiana Jones is speaking an old Incan dialect because he can do that, no problem.
Yeah. And Mac's there. How is he there? Nobody knows.
No one knows. No.
But he can see them.
We don't know how he knows. But he's got a bag full of trackers and not the tracker bars. He's not got, although he has got a big hike ahead of him. And we get into the cell.
It's like a video game merchant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
This just happens to be in every room before a boss fight. Jonesy!
Yeah.
Want any potions?
I didn't enjoy the cell. I guess I've picked up on it just because I was just like, why? I think again the story just kind of falls apart because Oxley has apparently lost his mind, but he hasn't lost it enough to send Indiana Jones or Marion or someone a letter with a riddle in ancient Mayan.
I'm not sure when he has lost his mind. It might be that the Russians showed him the skull until he went mad.
Right. Okay. But in the madhouse, he has drawn a map on the floor of a burial ground, and that map is completely inconsequential because they don't use the map to find anything. They just go, that's an ancient burial ground drawn down there on the floor, and then go to a different part of...
It seemed to point directly to where they were next going.
But I thought it was... Well, they describe it as a map of the burial ground, and when they get there, they're like, well, where is it?
Well, they have the... Yeah, it is because it superimposes over it dissolves to the next.
But it's more. I guess what I mean is it's not a map of
how to get there,
not how to get there or where the thing is in it. It's more just like it's like if I just drew a map of London.
Have you seen Indiana Jones films before? They do this kind of thing.
Yes, but this is my point. As you said as well, as soon as you're out. And I was out,
right.
and like I'm starting to see holes everywhere, and I just didn't understand how this guy who had lost his mind apparently was able to write a letter. Fair enough, maybe that was beforehand, but then why didn't the Russians have the letter?
Well, they let it be sent, but yeah.
But why do they let it be sent?
And if they're both in the same camp, why would
they let it be? I thought they wanted the letter.
No, they wanted the letter translated. By Indiana Jones.
Okay, of course, by Indiana Jones again. Lucky he's not dead.
We've been through this.
Oh.
None of this matters.
No,
none of this matters, and it is all a bit of a trail of breadcrumbs. And anytime that you've got like, oh, here's the cell of a mad person who's just written the same, who's just drawn skulls all over the wall.
Yeah.
That is a bit rubbish, isn't it?
It is a bit rubbish.
He just can't
And the
stop
word
drawing
return.
skulls.
Return.
Classic video game environmental storytelling, isn't
100%.
it?
Yeah.
Drawing in blood on the walls.
Yeah.
There's no escape.
Yes.
No way back.
Cut off their limbs.
Did
Yeah.
he do it with his fingernails?
Maybe
Wasn't
he had
clear.
a stick.
Wasn't
Maybe
clear.
he had a stick.
Don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't bother to.
Because what always
worry about
amazes
that.
me in these kind of scenes is just the strength
Of fingernails.
these people's fingernails
Yeah.
into stone, just like glyphs and carvings. And
Yes.
What film was it that we watched recently?
Silence
of the
of the
Lambs. Are there fingernails in the well?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite unpleasant.
Yeah. They've snapped off. So
They've
that's
snapped.
that
Realistic
That must be
fingernails.
really strong
Yeah,
stone.
that's nuance. That
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
a fingernail
Just-
lodged in a wall.
Not
People in the
sandstone
previews.
prison.
I did not like them. When they get to the tomb, the site of the tomb, there's I cannot think of this as anything but sort of weird and racist. Why are there like little pygmy guys?
It is weird and racist.
There's
I
just
don't
two
know.
of them.
I don't know why they're there. No one talks about it.
And their little sort of runarounds. That's like the scene. That's like Hook.
Yeah.
It's like the kids in Hook having little fucking walkways and shit.
Yeah.
They're just running through little gaps.
Yeah.
It's rubbish.
It's a little bit like the Merry Men as well.
It does lead
In
to
Sherwood Forest.
my favourite line in the film, though, which is after Indiana Jones has beaten them, and Mutt says, "You're a teacher?" Part-time.
Yeah, that was good.
Good
That was
line.
good. That was a good line. Part time.
There was that. Well, actually, flashback to when the scene when they crashed the motorbike in the mess hall in the college, and that's I quite
That
like
bits, I really like that
the
bit.
student just asking him a question about his.
I couldn't.
Everyone just carrying on.
I couldn't get on board
Really
with it.
enjoyed
But the
it.
thing that threw me out of that
Harrison
was
Ford got back on board, though, did he?
Hey,
On the bike.
You didn't need the on the bike bit. Come on, I was there.
That's now I'm doing a film script thing.
Oh, I see.
He's got back on board on the bike.
Yes.
But then what I didn't like was that this contradicted his point earlier on that, what did he say? 90%, 80% of archaeology is in the library.
Oh,
And then he
And
says,
this time
"Get
he was
out
like,
of the library."
Get out into the field.
I liked that as well. An actual... That's the kind of callback that feels not aligned with the other ones we've seen.
Yeah.
Because
It's
unless
good.
you really remember that specific line from Last Crusade, which I wouldn't had I not seen it very recently, I wouldn't have got that. And it is just, okay, how has Indiana Jones changed? How has he grown?
Yeah, right.
And it's a little bit different. He's like an older... And that is a rare example, I think, in this film of just a line telling you a little bit more than what's the words that are written down in the script.
Yeah.
There's a little bit in that.
There
It's
is.
like when Bilbo Baggins says tea is at 4 at the end of the Hobbit trilogy. Just there's a little, you just get a glimmer of the old magic.
Yeah, in a movie of otherwise little magic, seldom magic. They're in the tomb. Always find it. I mean, what a this is the archaeological discovery of forever.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And for Indiana Jones to just go in there and the wrappings have somehow perfectly preserved these people, not to have a camera, slice him open, watch the face dissolve, not feel any pangs of, this is the most important discovery of all time. And I could have taken pictures. Scientists should be here. We should preserve these corpses. This is unbelievable. None of that.
No.
None of that.
No, and it was the same in the Last Crusade, and we were able to explain it away because he was looking for his dad. And
we had trouble then.
He was about to die. Well, we didn't know about that, the fire, but yeah, we did have trouble. This, I suppose, he is looking for Oxley mostly, but it feels less like I'm looking for my dad. It's more like I'm looking for Oxley, someone you've never heard of, but I liked him, and also there might be Akatar or whatever it's called.
He just finds a massive, massive skull.
Yes.
That's what he finds.
Yeah, and they do explain why the skull would be there, and I didn't follow.
I think the conquistadors had taken it from the temple that we see at the end.
Yes.
And then they had started to leave and had died. I don't know how they then all got into the tomb.
No. Why? Oh, just what's this? This
Well,
cool,
they must have been
this cool crystal skull.
They must have been prepared and put in the tomb, yes.
I'll bury that with them. I guess it's theirs.
And Oxley had taken the skull at some point because he'd discovered it, because that's what he does. And then I think he'd been compelled by the skull to put it back with the word return.
No, he hadn't.
No.
He had. When they get to the Mayan temple at the end,
he'd already been there.
he goes, "You'd been here. You couldn't figure out how to get inside, so you took it back," and which seems like a strange choice. And then he says, "And when you were in your cell, you figured it out, didn't you?" So the idea is, he found the crystal skull in that tomb. He went all the way up to the Amazon, trekked through the Amazon, got to the Mayan temple, got to that stone bit with all the heads where the sand will come out, and went, I don't know how to get through here.
Yeah.
So he went all the way back to the tomb.
And how do they get through? They smash it.
And I don't know at what point he goes, yeah, they just smash the heads off and the sand comes out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe the skull could have told him how to do it.
Yeah.
That is convoluted. No wonder I didn't understand that.
It is convoluted, yeah.
I didn't understand that.
No.
I think Rob means when you just said it.
Oh, when you just said it now. I don't even remember this being in the film, to be honest.
Yeah. Right, yeah. You remember old man, but not, yeah.
Well, it's just I've learning this about myself is that I struggle to remember very specific plot details. I just remember films in like flashes of images and stuff.
Yeah.
And scenes.
Yeah. I realised this. I realised this all the way.
Skull. I remember him being underground with Shia LaBeouf and thinking this is quite a good Tomb Raidy bit. They're following some clues and they're deciphering some glyphs and they found a skull.
Are you really good at those? What movie is this? Emoji puzzles, because that's what I think. That's how I think you. That's how you see movies.
No
just
context
emojis.
spoilers.
It's like
skull.
Yeah. We've
not spoken about Kate Blanchett.
I was about to say Kate Blanchett.
Good.
Her Russian accent's really good, apart from anything that has the O sound in it, where she just goes back to Australian.
Oh.
I've got a very evil plan, Dr. Jones. That's what she's like. It's very strange.
Dr. Jones.
I hate her character. And I think that her being in the film is an enormous distraction.
Then I will diminish and go back into the West. And I've gone Scottish.
Scottish.
And I mean Galadriel.
I thought the lesson of the original movies was to hire English character actors you've never seen before.
Yeah, brilliant.
Not
like
Kate.
Ronald
Brilliant.
Lacey.
Yes.
Yeah, works so well.
Not Kate Blanchett. Even the Nazi. What? Elsie.
Elsa.
I've not seen her in anything else.
No.
She's a great villain.
Yeah, she's great.
She's.
I don't think. What is Kate Blanchett's character called? Ingrid or something? Inga? I don't know. I'm looking at Rob.
I don't know.
I don't know. She's not a good villain. I don't know what she wants. She's such a caricature in as much as like she's got a sword. It's just, it feels silly. Like in a way that the other bad guys from the previous movies haven't felt silly. The closest you get to a caricature, I guess, is probably like the Gestapo man.
But he's just, like.
But I know what he's about. I know why he's doing it.
Yeah.
Like I get all of that.
He's part of a machine.
He's got real character.
She's elevated in a slightly rubbish way, and I think it does tie into this sort of era of the supernatural in the same. Like she is interested in ESP and psychology and like the kind of what do they call? MK Ultra kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's it. I don't understand if she's acting on her behalf of the government. Is she acting by herself? She's kind of seems quite independent.
She's quite.
She personally wants knowledge, but she's talking about, like you said, this kind of like.
I think that's sort of emblematic of the idea of like a police state and wanting to have all of the information and control that comes with it, and that comes through in the thing that she says at the end about wanting the crystal skulls to be able to just tell everyone what to think. I
think ultimately what I'm saying is she's not a very good character. I just don't really know what she wants or care.
You can explain all of that bullshit and it doesn't mean as much as what are we talking about, or shall I tell you what I'm used to? You know what I mean? Like those lines are just like, oh, this guy's fucking evil.
Yeah.
Like, he's part of the Nazi machine. Just tell me like it's a Soviet heavy. It's fine. Yeah. That's all I needed to know. Anyway, luckily, we're about to have that car chase through the jungle, so that's going to make everything loads better.
Well, they get taken to the jungle and we have Marion's big reveal.
Yes, in the camp.
And I don't remember. I feel like this was a shock to nobody. Like, wasn't it trailed? Is she in the? Was it trailed? She's in the credits.
I believe she's in the credits.
Like before the movie came out, we all knew that she was in the movie, right?
I think so.
And so this bit just flat as a pancake for me, because it's just like, yes, of course it's Marion.
And they all get a little moment to argue in the middle of the camp.
Yes,
which I thought was a bit rubbish.
It was a bit rubbish because all they're just Russians standing around again, just letting it happen. Just let her be like, where's the shut up? Gag them, like it's just
there was
silly.
that guy in the truck later who tells them to shut up.
Yeah,
when they're having their argument, which I did enjoy.
And then he gets kicked to death.
And he does gag Marion.
He does. Maybe a little throwback again. She's the only one who gets gagged.
I quite like that truck scene.
Yeah,
I quite like her enjoying how much he is good at beating people up on trucks, which seemed to be the very specific vibe of that moment. And Mutt going, I guess my dad is really good at beating people up in trucks.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah,
we've also missed the
quicksand,
and particularly the snake that is a rope.
I didn't enjoy the snake that is a rope. I thought that was, again, it's a clever idea, which isn't a good idea.
Yeah,
what I did quite enjoy. I mean, it's a very broad stroke, but the change of opinions once he realizes that he's Mutt's father, and he's like, well, why didn't you make him finish school?
That's fun.
That's a good line.
It's great.
Come on,
that's a fun thing.
If the rest of the movie had been going well, we'd be talking about how great that line was.
I think it's a great line. I think it's a great idea as well. The change of opinion he has about this kid when he realizes it's his son, and he's like, oh well, in that case you need to sort your ideas out.
Yeah,
like don't let anybody, before he's like, don't let any, if you do what you love and don't let anyone tell you different. He's like,
I mean, it's a good,
you're not being a mechanic.
A little replay of that in the truck. You said don't let anyone tell you different, and that was before I was your father.
Yeah,
that's a good line.
It's a good line.
That was a good line.
And then there's some punching. The punching is almost invisible to me at this point of Indiana Jones's career. I expect him to punch people off trucks.
Yeah.
So I don't. It's like when you're watching, the 20th Marvel movie, and there's a couple of guys in the sky punching each other, and you're like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
He is good at punching, though.
He is.
Just the way he grabs someone by the scruff of the neck, by their shirt, and just.
Yeah.
Great punching sound effects.
Great punching sound effect.
I've said it many times. He's also great at getting punched.
Yeah.
I think one of the best in the business at getting punched.
Yeah.
That's a skill. He did actually punch Ryan Gosling, didn't he?
He did.
In the 2048. Yeah, famously. But there we go. We're approaching.
And then he called him Brian in a press junket, which I really enjoyed.
That was just brilliant, wasn't it? Yeah. That whole thing. I loved that. I loved their relationship.
Every now and again, for no reason at all, TikTok would just show me the Alison Hammond interview with them on This Morning. And the bit that I really, really like, when they realise that they're in a bizarro world interview, is when she gifts them the glasses from the first film. And one of them says, "Oh, did you like the first film?" And she just pauses for a second, goes, "I haven't seen it." And then she bursts into laughter. And then he's like, "Okay, that is funny." Ryan Gosling's like, "Oh,
that is brilliant." I also really like him. Yeah, the Graham Norton interview, where just Harrison Ford just keeps pretending to have forgotten his name. Which is that the Brian? But he keeps going. I was on set with Ryan. They're just so good together. It's just great.
They are good.
Now, could Ryan Gosling have been Indiana Jones's son? Oh, interesting.
That I'm interested in. I don't know. I do enjoy Ryan.
I'm glad he's not in this film because it's not a good film, and so
yes, true.
I don't want him to be tainted by it.
If River Phoenix was alive, could River Phoenix have been Indiana Jones's son?
I guess he would have been a bit too old. He would have been too old for that son.
I guess.
He would have been. He would have been in his 50s or something, probably. So,
wow.
Yeah, yeah. Sad thought.
I don't really understand where Marion's been. I don't know why she's in the camp. They have a skull. Indiana Jones is forced to look at the skull for a period of time.
Yeah.
The skull, we understand, has got some sort of psychic powers.
Yes.
Then there is the quicksand.
Then there's the quicksand.
And then there is the
Henry goes and gets help. He asks him to get help. He does get help, and then but then when he brings help,
it's the Russians.
Indiana. Yeah, I mean, who else was it going to be? They're in a jungle, and he's like annoyed. He's like, "Great job." It's like you literally said, "Go and get help."
Maybe
What's he going to do?
Like a stick,
right? Okay.
Or another snake.
Say a stick then. Like, God. I felt bad for the, I felt bad for the guy. He can barely understand you. He understood help, and it's like, wow. It's like, you know, it's like if your dog brought back the Russians, you wouldn't be like, "Oh, great job." Well, that is pretty good, actually. Yeah.
What happens now? They're recaptured.
Slightly big ants happen.
Basically, what's going to happen is they are in the truck. They kick that guy to death. And then Indiana Jones fires a bazooka he's found in the truck at the convoy, and all hell breaks loose. They have that car scene you mentioned with the fencing.
Yeah.
Between and that,
there's no need.
Just annoying. You know, it's I do think that I just can flip flop from two completely opposing points. In another film, I might go, I really like the foreshadowing where earlier he said, I went to all these posh schools where they teach you like chess and fencing. And then later that explains why he's really good at sword fighting. Yeah. But in this movie, I didn't enjoy either of those two things.
I might have enjoyed him being forced to do this if the situation had called for it in an interesting way. But it seems so clearly working backwards from the idea of, can we have them fighting across jeeps? And no one can do that.
Also, and because no one can do that, because Marion is saying like riposte and put your foot forward and whatever.
That almost sold it for me though. Is like the loud parent at sports day.
But my point is, there's no jeopardy whatsoever. Like, you know, this is a completely inconsequential fight. No one is dying in this fight. Nothing is getting. Nothing meaningful is happening in this fight. It's just a little bit that we're doing. We're doing a bit.
Yeah. Is this when he gets thrown into the tree and then he swings back?
And this is the watershed moment.
This is it.
I
More
think
than the fridge.
I think honestly it is, because the fridge has some semblance of like there's like 1% of it that could, you know, like maybe in
lead lined.
It's lead lined, and maybe, I don't know, if the conditions are just right. There is zero chance that a man gets pulled up into the canopy of the jungle and becomes friends with, because this is important. He doesn't just think, "Oh, I could swing like a monkey," which is already he can swing faster than trucks can drive.
I disagree with that. I think looking at the geography of the scene this time, he clearly takes a shortcut.
He's so good at swinging like a monkey. They didn't mention that in the posh schools taught me stuff.
This is the classic thing earlier where you're like, okay, the CG age has given you the opportunity to do anything, and they're just questioning. Basically, you've got a geography problem here. How do you get Shia LaBeouf from where he is in the tree back into the truck in a cool way? And if this was before the age of CG, how would Steven Spielberg have done that? I'd be interested to see how he'd have done
That's
it.
true.
Well, he probably wouldn't have got him out of the truck.
Maybe he wasn't in the tree. Maybe he never went into the tree.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what the process was, where they were thinking, when they were designing this fight, was the idea of Shia LaBeouf swinging through the jungle, was that there at the beginning? Or like, how do you plan sequences like this?
I agree.
This is not a problem
He'd have probably
solved.
fallen down a hill.
Or
just
fallen
down some rocks.
I don't think this is a solution. I think this is a set. This will be good.
Was there.
This will be great. And the thing I really hate is, like I said, is he becomes friends with the monkeys. It's ridiculous because they share a look, and then all the monkeys start going, and he starts swinging with them, and then he has an army of monkeys with him that attack the Russians. Somehow they know, like, these guys. They're like, what were they saying to you?
Do you know
what were you saying to him?
I've just thought maybe this is like a follow-up to the evil monkey in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Do you know what I mean? If a monkey can be bad,
oh my God, I think you're right.
Monkeys can be good. If that monkey is chatting to that guy, he's doing a Hitler salute.
Yeah,
like maybe.
And there is one real monkey when he first goes up. That's a real monkey for a moment. You know, maybe a descendant of.
One thing I do enjoy is that Irina tries very hard to throw a monkey off the cliff.
Yeah.
And the monkey just monkeys his way out of it.
Yeah. No one wants to see it. That would be a different movie. But though I'd prefer that in this movie if a monkey just.
If Mutt screamed his
name. And if we wanted to make her evil, great. That would be a great way to do it.
She's not really that evil, is she?
It's just a monkey. It's just a monkey.
Yeah. Just fling a monkey off a cliff.
At least 5 monkeys should have died.
Yeah.
That would have made this film.
Significantly better. Exactly. And George Lucas knows that. He knew he had to kill some Ewoks in Return of the Jedi.
Oh my God!
You got to kill some.
When the Ewok checked on his mate,
Oh, that is heartbreaking.
That's what they should have had a little reference to that.
Yes,
one
that would have
monkey
been
should have
great.
checked another monkey, and the other monkey's like dead.
Doesn't Indiana Jones say, "I've got a bad feeling about this"?
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Yeah, I didn't like that either. But it's straight from monkeys into ants. I just can't.
This is definitely scarab beetles from the Mummy right here. They're definitely.
I mean, you can't not know that. You know what I mean? Like, if you're making this film, you've seen the Mummy.
Yeah.
Do you know what's really weird is I think it must have been after this, but I used to pretend pitch a movie all the time at work.
I remember
It was
this, Slightly Big Ants.
Slightly Big Ants.
Oh yeah,
but it's Slightly Big Ants had
Slightly
already
Big
been
Ants.
done.
You haven't done that for a long time.
Slightly Big Ants.
You got over your Slightly Big Ants phase. You got past
there was
it.
no traction. There was no pickup. And the idea being that they wouldn't be, because huge ants are obviously very scary, but like medium dog-sized ants, maybe even smaller, that would be confusing, because you individually, I guess the internet's really run with this. You know, would you take on?
Imagine if an ant the size of a cat came in here now.
I would not be very
and
happy.
just looked at us and did like a and just came scuttling
and then you
over.
knew that other ants were coming.
Yeah,
that would be the scary thing. But the internet's got that question: would you rather fight 100 ducks or a one horse-sized duck? Which I guess is similar to my Slightly Big Ants conundrum. But anyway, Slightly Big Ants, I would say
100 ducks or a big duck. I think it's like 100 duck-sized horses, or one duck-sized horse, or one horse-sized duck, or one horse-sized.
Oh, for God's sake!
Anyway, 100 ducks would probably kill you.
Yeah.
In a way, that's like a reverse of the could
be so
could
soft.
100 people kill a gorilla? You know what I mean? And that's what the ducks ask themselves. Is could 100 ducks take on a person on Duck Reddit?
Thousands of ants can definitely kill a man, though, and they do.
Yeah, they do, and they take them
take him down into the little hole.
Yeah,
I did like the bad man. Again, it's the trope of large man.
Yeah,
the large man this time is eventually that is a protracted fist fight, and then it ends with all of the ants pouring into that.
I think
that man's mouth.
It just won't. It's neither of them will go down. I was a bit done with it. I was like, come on, let's just.
And this Mac has revealed that he is actually secretly not bad anymore.
He's good.
Remember, not very soon to actually still be.
We're friends
evil.
again. And Marion thinks, I know how to get down. I reckon I can land this car perfectly in that tree.
This does remind me of. I remember very clearly being at the cinema and watching. Is it Die Another Day with the invisible car? And like the invisible car, and then there's a parachute, and
Tomorrow Never Dies has got an invisible car as well, hasn't it? I don't know which one.
Whichever one it is with.
Oh no, it's just a remote control car.
With I nearly said Maradona with Madonna.
Yeah,
that's a very different film.
Yeah. Yes, that is Die Another Day.
There's fencing in that.
There's
film
fencing
as well.
in that. The ice.
Madonna is the fencing teacher.
Toby Stevens, who is secretly Korean. In that film,
what a terrible film that is.
It's a terrible film, and I remember just thinking, because I'd really enjoyed GoldenEye and to a lesser extent Tomorrow Never Dies, and then just watching that thinking,
you've missed The World Is Not Enough. That's bad.
It's because I'd never seen it.
Oh, you don't need to.
So I have actually missed it.
Robert Carlyle's quite good in that. He's the bad guy in that.
But just thinking, this is like everyone must have known this is shit. This is so shit.
Yeah.
Like this is supposed to be grounded in some way. And Indiana Jones similarly, by the time they're jumping off the waterfalls, like they all jump out of the boat and for the last waterfall. I mean, they're obviously just all dashed against the rocks.
I quite like the 1, 2, 3. That's quite fun. When they come up from the water after the second waterfall,
and they're like,
and Indiana Jones finishes off the count, just points to it. 3, and then they all fall down the last big one.
And they should be dead.
Well, they should be.
Oh, they should be. I mean, there's loads of times where everyone in Indiana Jones should be dead.
Yeah, I know. But I'm like, this is just silly.
There's quite a lot
one
of the movie.
waterfall's enough. What's one waterfall is enough, like.
I know.
That would be fine and interesting.
Well, it's
and
escalation for the sake of it. Again, to talk about Tony Gilroy, only because I feel like obviously he's not making an Indiana Jones movie as he says this, but there was a point at which the guy who was the showrunner, I think, of, I can't remember the name of it, but the Kevin Spacey political thriller. House of Cards. And it wasn't him, actually, it was Tom Bissell. Tom Bissell, who co-wrote some of The Last of Us Part 2. And I think he was saying that Tony Gilroy said, "Stop pitching me plot." Or
right.
No, did he say that? He basically said, stop pitching me fucking cool ideas.
Right.
I don't want your cool ideas.
Right.
Pitch me plot, pitch me character.
Yes.
Pitch me like this happens because this person needs to do this and this. Not like, wouldn't it be cool if 10 things happened here and we did this?
100%. I feel
And
like
this
you
is
can
all just
see that in
cool
movies.
stuff,
Yeah, and this is just, we should have this, we should have that.
And of course, the movie is a spectacle.
Yeah.
I'm going to commit to doing the rest of the film in 4 minutes because
Yeah.
that's how long we have left of this recording session. They go down the waterfall, they go into the temple.
There's really not much else to say. That the tribes people are there.
Yeah.
And
How are they still there?
how did you get past them? I just held up the skull. I mean, I could have figured that out, and that happens basically in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Very true.
And then the sand puzzle is solved.
With smashing.
Well done, crazy old ox. You figured it out in your
They
cell.
run down the stairs. They put the skull back on the head.
Yeah.
The Russians turn up because that always happens.
They kill all the tribes people, which I thought was quite horrible.
Did they?
Yeah, we see like a panning shot over just all the dead tribes people on the steps. They've just been all just wiped out by the Russians. Just like, oh well, we need to get up there. So
Those Russians are terrible.
yeah, and then at this point, I was confused because it felt like they were surprised to find aliens or interdimensional beings.
What, with the silhouette and the shadow cast? Yeah. It's like,
It's
what the
like-
fuck did you think had been happening
Yeah.
this whole time? Like you were talking about.
You've literally seen 2 aliens. We've talked about it. We saw one. The Russians have got one in the jungle for fun. They brought along. I bet that stinks.
The idea that it's like, oh, the skull is the same as the. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was so weird.
You're a tenured professor. What the fuck have you been thinking for this whole film?
Yeah. And then it turns out that Inga just wants knowledge.
Yes.
And they're going to give it to her.
I want to know.
They're going to give it.
I want to know.
And again, obviously, we're sort of we're like harking back here to the previous movies, I guess. In the bad guy does the thing, and it's like, be careful what you wish for.
Yes.
Like, you want to open the Ark of the Covenant, you want to speak to God. Oh, hope you're a good guy. Or do you want everlasting life? Or don't get the wrong cup. And do you want all the knowledge in the world? Fine, we'll give you all the knowledge in the world. And I really was disappointed in because there has to be a horrible thing. There has to be a horrible death. And I don't think her death is horrible enough.
That's the big criticism for me. She wasn't evil enough and her death wasn't violent enough.
No.
Yeah.
Wasn't.
I want to see this woman
The most
torn to pieces.
Evil thing she does is like that she kills the ant with her thighs.
Yes. They're very juicy, those ants.
Yeah.
They
But
just burn.
her face should melt off
Yeah.
with all of the knowledge that she receives
Yeah.
from the one alien.
Or her head
It's
just
a-
gets bigger and bigger and bigger, like a balloon.
It's a hive mind alien that's all creatures in one, isn't it? And then
Yeah.
it goes into the ship and flies away.
And then, like a shit poster from Athena, it becomes a pyramid that is also a cosmic interdimensional being that is also a spaceship, and it flies the fuck away.
Yeah.
And then there's a wedding, and then there's the end of the
To
film.
Oh, yeah, the
space-
wedding.
The space between spaces.
The wedding's, again, such a more modern thing. If it was old Indiana Jones, the source would have just flown away and then the credits would have come up. But
Exactly.
no, we had to have just... And what did they do
button.
after?
Were
The
they all
test
happy
group
afterwards?
The test group says they want to know what happened after the film.
And we want
yes.
to- and
Is
also
Shia
They
LaBeouf Indiana Jones
They
now?
lived happily ever after and they got married.
No, Shia LaBeouf is not Indiana Jones now.
And that's the end. So we've got one film left to go in our Indiana Jones journey. Do we have a bonus episode in the meantime? I believe we do. Do we know what it is? I believe we don't.
No, it'll be exciting for everyone.
Yes.
We do have a bonus episode, and it's going to be exciting mystery for all of us.
Look out for that on Patreon. And if you are not already a member of our Patreon, you can get 2 bonus episodes every month by supporting us at patreon.com/Redshirt Cinema. Am I boring you, Robert Pearson?
I'm very tired.
At patreon.com/Redshirt
You're stealing the NVO again.
Cinema Club. I'm doubling down.
Oh, double down.
I want support.
Okay.
Other than that, do you know I enjoyed this movie more than I remember enjoying it? Dave, what did you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed it more than I remember, and I enjoyed talking about it a lot more than I enjoyed watching it.
Robert Pearson?
I enjoyed it about the same, which is around 5 out of 10. Perfect. It's all right. I quite like Aliens.
You've been listening to Redshirt Cinema Club. If you're enjoying the podcast and would like to receive 2 exclusive episodes per month, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Just check the link in the description. We'd also love to hear from you. Email us at redshirtcinemaclub@gmail.com or follow us on social media. We'll be back with another episode on Monday.